Hey, Nancy.
Hey Ding, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. So, Nancy, let's jump in. What's a fractional CMO?
It is a popular way nowadays for companies to bring in marketing leadership at the highest level on
Mhm.
an as needed basis to help supplement their what they need for their organization.
Okay. So, let's do this. The standard hypothetical for this podcast is today's day one of a brand new client engagement. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself, and then talk about what you normally see or experience or try to do in the first 90 days when you first
Uh-huh.
start with a client.
Sure. A little bit about myself. I've
Mhm.
been at this game for a long time. I'm a multi-time former full-time CMO for both B2B and B2C companies, Fortune 500s,
Mhm.
as well as startups. Most recently, I'm a fractional CMO with multiple clients at the same time. I find that typically in the first 90 days, you're trying to find out quickly where you can make the greatest impact, right? Every
Right.
company always has some need, and your objective would be to quickly find those that you can make a difference and deliver some kind of momentum or results within the first 90 days.
Like, what's a typical example?
Go to market motion.
Yeah.
So, for example, um, uh, companies have stalled because their current go-to-market motion has reached its peak.
Right. Okay. All right. That makes sense. Apoorv, hi.
I did.
So, tell folks a little bit about you and what you normally like try to do or accomplish or problems you see in the first 90 days or so.
Sure. My name is Apoorv Dwivedi, and I specialize in working with small and mid-size accounting firms. And when I say small and mid-size, let's say, the largest probably is going to be around 8 to 10 partners.
Right.
And particularly in the accounting and advisory industry, here's what typically happens, right? They get to a certain size or point, and then they realize that their marketing is still a black box. And it's a black box that they're pouring money into, but doesn't seem to return any to them. So I fix that. And the way that we fix that, particularly so starting in the first 90 days, is we want to look at what's actually going to be effective for them. So, starting out, we need to have a really good understanding of where they're currently at. So, a lot of the times, they'll have different pieces in place, and the pieces may not be bad. It's just a matter of understanding what's there. Maybe they haven't been integrated correctly. Maybe they haven't been set up correctly. But a lot of times they'll have bits and pieces in place. So the first 90 days is a lot about understanding their systems. We want to understand their client base. So really want to make sure that we're getting the opportunity to actually sit down and talk with and interview their clients, find out what attracted them to that particular firm, what it's like working with them, and that lays the foundation for success in the future.
So, let's shift perspectives then, Apoorv.
Sure.
You're not the fractional CMO in this engagement. You're the CEO. You're the client CEO. Okay.
Yeah.
What are you going to like see or experience now that you've brought this fractional CMO on?
Yeah. So from a senior leader's perspective, if you're the founder, the managing partner, the
Mhm.
CEO, you're bringing a fractional CMO on board because you need help at a senior level with strategy and basically where your marketing is taking you in the future. You're going to want to find someone that can, number one, kind of help to address your immediate problems that you have, right? Where are you currently at? What are your immediate problems? But also set you up for long-term success. And that I think is really kind of the core difference with folks at a CMO or a fractional CMO level is they're being brought on board to help with strategy, right? And I always talk about strategy first, right?
Right.
Let's be really clear on strategy and strategic focus and making sure that you're doing the right things or that you've got the right things identified in your plan for what you need to do. So that's probably the core difference from a CEO's perspective.
Okay. So, Nancy, you've been CMO a bunch of times, fractional CMO many times, right? I have sort of an inverted question for you. Instead of sort of talking about what the CEO is going to experience and stuff, how do companies or CEOs, how do they waste the money that they put aside for their fractional CMO? Like what do they do or keep doing that they should have stopped doing now that there's a fractional CMO in there? Or what do they not do that they should have done to sort of fully maximize the value they're going to get from that, let's say 1 year of a fractional CMO?
So I actually have a client. So this is a live
Oh God, real story. Okay.
case study here. Before they brought me on board, they outsourced all the marketing to really excellent agencies. However, they were missing this baseline foundational playbook. Once I came on board, what I realized was each agency was doing their own thing, but there was no underlying unified strategy that
Right.
tied their deliverables together. So it was actually kind of simple for me to explain this to the client. They agreed they needed to do that. So one of the first things I did was I collaborated with a founder, owner, and the CEO to create that. And as of this morning, funny enough, one of the agencies we brought on board to do content actually commented on he spent last week studying our playbook and really got to understand who we are, who we saw our competitors to be, what the competitors are doing. So he built his content strategy that he pitched us this morning based off of the playbook that we
That's
put
cool.
together.
Well, it's good when they pay attention. Okay, then, Nancy, let's pretend that you're that client CEO, right?
Mhm,
You're looking at the staffers in the marketing department. In fact, it might be so small, it might just be like a little marketing team, right?
mhm,
You're looking at Nancy, just started day one on an engagement here at our company. You're looking at the staffers in the marketing team, junior people,
uh-huh,
mid-level people. They might have some supervision. They might have management, but this is the first sort of like leadership in marketing that they've had on that, right?
right.
So as CEO, you look at Nancy, you look at these staffers, and you wonder to yourself, how are these staffers or how's this team going to be different or better at the end of Nancy's engagement than they are right now on day one?
Uh-huh.
What's the answer to that?
Well, usually you should have some assumptions why you needed to bring in a fractional talent, right? And in that assumption, you need to be have some frame of mind in terms of what you're looking for the fractional to contribute.
Right.
It's up to the fractional to develop good relationship and kind of a good judgment in learning how to best utilize the existing staff. So the sooner the fractional CMO can do that and figure out where the gaps are so that we're not duplicating each other's efforts, but everything is additive. That's the formula for success.
Gotcha. Okay.
Based on my experience, oftentimes the reason you're bringing the fractional is perhaps the existing staffs know how to execute, but don't have a vision. They're more of a doer, and they're looking for a leader to kind of to articulate a strategy for the team to execute against.
Right. And Apoorv, maybe in some of your clients, like there isn't much of a marketing function yet, and in others, like larger ones, there will be. Like, how's the team going to be different at the end of that sort of 12 months?
Yeah. So when you're bringing in an outside fractional CMO, yeah, it's because the team that's inside maybe isn't getting the results that the firm is looking for. Now,
True.
that doesn't mean that they're not necessarily good folks. A lot of times you go in there, they're really busy, they're doing a lot of stuff. But the question is, are they doing the right things that's going to lead to success for that firm? Right. So coming in as a fractional CMO, a lot of it is about making sure that the marketing team is doing the right things that is going to lead to success for that business, right? Are they working on the things that are going to help to deliver that strategic vision around where the business needs to go? Are they working on the right things around reputation building? Are they working on the right things around lead generation? Or is it a lot of it just kind of make busy work? The other thing that we do as a outside fractional CMO coming in is help to coach and mentor the existing folks that are in there. Again, you have a lot of really good folks, and they need maybe just a little bit of direction, maybe just a little bit of kind of guidance and understanding, and training and mentoring around the types of things that they're working on.
Right.
And then, I mean, honestly, there's maybe also going to be a point where the CMO does an evaluation and make sure that, okay, do you have the right skills and resources within the team, right? So, is there anything that you need to do to supplement that externally with outside resources? Is there more training and development that can be done with the internal folks that are there, right, to make sure that they are actually the right resources for marketing that that firm is looking for?
Okay, so let's stay with those staffers for a second, but let's take it from like the complete other end of it. So imagine that like one of your friends comes to you and says, "Hey, Apoorv, you've told me like 4 times what you do, and I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I know it's something like high up in marketing. And my kid just graduated from college, graduated from university, just started their first ever full time job. They've decided to do a career in marketing, and they're now like the most junior staffer on a marketing team. The company just brought in a fractional CMO over there. So, like, what advice would you give my kid I can pass along on like what they should do or not do, or how to act, or how to, and I don't mean this in like a mercenary kind of view, but how to take full advantage of the 1 year of exposure they're going to have to such a senior marketing person? Like, what's your advice?
Yeah. So, I think that's a great opportunity for someone that's just kind of coming in, right? So if they're green and fresh, right, and they're at, say, like a very junior entry level role, maybe it's
Mhm.
even an internship or something along those lines. Um, probably the biggest thing they want to do is understand how a marketer thinks, right? That's probably the big thing that they're going to
Mm,
get from a CMO level individual. And when I say that, what I mean is there's a strategic thinking approach to marketing at a senior level. It's about understanding how to create revenue and growth opportunities for the firm going into the future for long-term success. So that is thinking like a marketer, right? It's thinking about the business objectives and where the business needs to go. It's thinking about the financial picture and the products. And most importantly, it's thinking about the customers and understanding the customers and the customer mindset. And so that is thinking like a marketer. There's a lot of folks that get into junior marketing roles and they get stuck doing marketing tactics, right? So they're working in the field of marketing, but they're not thinking like marketers. And that's probably the biggest takeaway that junior entry level individual can get working with a senior marketer.
And Nancy, like, let me ask the question a different way then. Imagine that suddenly there are two Nancys, right? There's you today, but for whatever reason, there's also you, but you're 24, and you have like 2 minutes on a phone call to give advice to 24-year-old Nancy, who's just starting out in her marketing career today,
Mhm.
2024. What's the most important thing you're going to tell her?
Always learn, keep on
Okay.
learning, right? Today, being data driven is important. AI,
Mhm.
understanding how to make use of generative AI is important. So these are two examples of something that today's 20 something need to stay on top of.
Yeah. Anything else? What should they not do? What can they safely ignore in the next 30 years of marketing?
I'm not sure that that's probably a more difficult question, but I think never settle for, "Oh, I know it all, right?
Right.
This is the way we've always done it," would be a positive start.
Okay. So Nancy, I'm going to ask you a question. It's very direct. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just like, I think I have the most I am not a fractional CMO. And I think I have the most fascinating job in the world. And so I'm always curious why other people do their jobs. And so I'm going to ask you like a question, and then I'm going to give you a chance to ask Apoorv any question you want. Like it's usually kind of rare you end up in a podcast with a random other fractional CMO, right?
Sure.
We do not curate or pair guests. That everything is random. That's part of the kind of like interestingness and energy of the podcast. But I'm going to ask you this question, and then I'm going to give you a chance to ask Apoorv, and then I'm going to ask Apoorv the same question and give him a chance to answer you one. So, like being a fractional CMO is oftentimes a very frustrating job. Like, why do this job? There are easier ways to make a living, right? Why do this job?
I do this job because I like the variety, right?
Yeah.
Uh, when you're a full-time CMO, you're focused only on
Yeah.
your one company. As a fractional, right now, for example, I have a B2B e-commerce company, and I also have a leading demand gen slash sales appointment setting service agency. So these are very different companies, and it gives me the variety, and it challenges me to apply the wealth of my experience to try and solve very different problems for two very different businesses.
Okay. Oh, all right. All right. And like, what question would you like ask Apoorv?
Well, I actually found it really interesting, Apoor. I think, unlike me, if I understood you correctly, you tend to focus on the finance sector.
That's correct. Yeah.
Is that correct? What's the reason you chose to focus on that particular
Ye-
segment?
Yeah, no, great question, Nancy. So the reason why I focus on finance and specifically within finance, accounting, and advisory firms
Mhm.
is that's a space that I'm really passionate about, right? So, my family came to this country when I was really young. I was 2 years old. We came with nothing, like, kind of that. You hear kind of like the immigrant story, right? But we weren't the successful immigrants. We were the ones that we really struggled financially, kind of all of our lives growing up. My father had a business. It was very unsuccessful, to be honest, and kind of being raised in that environment and seeing those struggles. Money was always really important to us. Money management was always really important to us, and so when I started getting into accounting in particular, maybe it's not always the most sexy industry that's out there, but it's probably one of the most vital, particularly for businesses, to make sure that they can be successful, that they can actually build and grow profitable businesses. So, by working with accountants, I'm actually one helping accountants to be successful and folks that go into that stream, but also their customers, right? There's a lot of small businesses out there in the community that need accounting support and help. And so by working with accountants, I can kind of create this knock-on effect that helps other small businesses.
And then Apoorv, like that's a good explanation of why you do this job, but why not do? There's cushier ways to make a living, right? Why do
Sure,
this?
there's. Yeah, sure. I mean, sure. There's a lot easier things that I could be doing. I really enjoy the strategic thinking. I enjoy working with teams to build that vision and execute that vision, and actually see that vision realized. Right. So to me, that's something that I've kind of done repeatedly throughout my career and my history, and
Sure. Yeah.
it's something that really motivates me. I'm not the type of person that likes to do the same type of thing every single day. I get honestly very tired with routine operational stuff. But when it comes to kind of big picture strategic thinking, innovation, stuff that gets me up in the morning and keeps me pumped and why I do what I do.
And then a question for Nancy.
So, Nancy, you're a senior marketer, and it sounds like you have fantastic and deep experience in this field. What is one piece of marketing advice that you think hasn't changed in the whole time that you've been in marketing?
It's your one.
I think being close to the customers, Always understanding things from the customer's point of view is a touchstone that will forever not change. Even with AI and everything, new concepts that come into play, there's nothing that replaces you actually spending time with real customers to better understand their needs. Even if AI aids you in the initial research, I recommend to all marketers, when you can, try and talk to a real customer.
I mean, if I could high five you, I would. That would be kind of like the CMO high five moment, right?
Right.
All right, guys. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I really like those questions at the end. Sometimes they're, you know, people sort of like don't quite know what to ask, but you guys like right in there. Okay, so thank you, Nancy, for being here, and thank you, Apoorv. And if the analytics tell us anything, there's like a 99% chance you're watching this on a clip. In which case, there are many other clips around now with Nancy and Apoorv giving fantastic advice and insights into being a fractional CMO, what it's like. And so check us out. There's a bunch of them around. Thanks again, Apoorv. Thanks again, Nancy. And thanks for watching. We'll see everyone later. Bye.
Thank